I'm gluing these gems onto this push light because it's going to be the base for our Venom Containment unit. Welcome back guys to an all new DIY. In this video we're going to be using some items mostly found at the Dollar Tree to create some container units hopefully strong enough to hold Venom and Carnage. Let there be carnage! The new trailer for Venom 2 dropped not too long ago and I'm having to say I'm digging. I wasn't sure how Carnage was actually going to look on the screen, but I think they did a pretty good job with this one. So with that excitement, I thought it'd be cool to make some props and some DIYs inspired by this new movie. Here I'm taking this DIY snow globe that I got from the Dollar Tree just to make sure this paper ball fits into the opening. Once I confirmed the measurements were good, I didn't want this ball to unravel, so I used some clear tape to hold it together. And again, with each change, just making sure it still fits inside the opening. Here I'm using some steel coil wire that I got for Freight Harbor. If you guys don't have this, a wire coat hanger will work just as well. I want to say I measured this out to be about 10 inches long. We'll be using this to wrap around the wire. This is going to be the symbiote tail for Venom. Just to make sure everything's secure and held in place, I'm using some of that same clear tape to hold down the wire. Next, we want to roll this up as tightly as possible. And just to make sure this doesn't come undone, we're going to want to tape the whole thing. Once we got all that secure, it's time to attach the tail to the head. Now you can do this many different ways. I left a little piece of the wire sticking out, or you can just glue or tape the tail directly to the back of the head. As you see here, I'm securing the neckline with more tape just to make sure this holds together. Any exposed wire, you're going to want to trim that or fold it in on itself. I actually had this piece of wire go right through my fingers, so I really urge you guys to be careful when doing this and to cover up those sharp edges. Adding that wire to the middle is going to allow you to bend and pose this figure in any way you want. I'm just wrapping the tail around itself a few times because I want to make sure that all this is going to fit inside the containment unit. Alright, looking good. Let's move on to the next step. For this, we're going to need the glue gun. Pretty much all we're going to do is cover this entire thing with hot glue. Again, watch your fingers and be very careful doing this step. The glue that comes out of here is extremely hot. I'm not using any certain pattern or technique to do this. I mean, it's supposed to be slime, so it's going to be very inconsistent. All I will say is in some areas you might want to pile on more glue than other spots, but it's entirely up to you how you want to cover this. And while that's drying, we're going to want to repeat those same steps because we also need a symbiote character for Carnage. And just like we did for Venom, you're going to want to cover this entire thing with hot glue. For Carnage, I actually taped the symbiote tail to the back of his head just to show you there's multiple ways to do this. Alright, now that all that's done, we get to move on to my favorite part. We get to paint them. I personally like to use spray paint for my projects, but you guys can use acrylic paint if you have it. Because as I said, this is supposed to be slime, and if you have a flat paint, it probably wouldn't look as good. Looks like they're trying to attach themselves to me as they dry. We better hurry and finish this project quickly. The next thing we need to make is some quick homemade slime. You're going to need some clear dish soap. Pour in as much as you think you're going to need. See, it already kind of looks like slime. Some red acrylic paint or food coloring. And you're going to want to stir this up very vigorously until it's all the way blended together. Next, I'm using some black acrylic paint. And for this, a little bit goes a long way. As you see, it creates the swirl patterns for the Carnage symbiote perfectly. Now here's where I messed up. I should have measured out exactly how much dish soap I was going to need to fill the next container. I thought I could add some more dish soap and continue my swirl pattern, but as you can see, all the colors blended in together and it looked more like Venom Symbiote than it did Carnage, so I had to start over. I still think the first batch looked better, but for now this is going to have to do, so let's move on. I'm going to be using this test tube that I got from Hobby Lobby to contain the Carnage Symbiote. As you guys can see, as I'm starting to fill the container, the colors are starting to blend and it destroyed my swirl pattern. If I ever attempt this again, I'm definitely going to have to play around with the dish soap to paint ratio to make sure that pattern holds. But for this, I think we get the idea. If we want, we can actually say this is Eddie Brock's blood, because by the trailer, it looks like Cletus Cassidy bites Eddie Brock, and that's how he acquires the Carnage Symbiote. Moving on to the next step, I'm just using some acrylic paint to bring out the face and body details of Venom and Carnage. I've done a few Venom style DIYs on this channel already. For Halloween, there was a Venomized Jason mask, and I also made some no wax Venom and Carnage candles. So if you guys are a fan of these two characters, I suggest you check out those videos as well. There are a few cosplay props that I'm planning on making, like Carnage's weapon blade and a Venomized hand, all using low cost materials that you can probably get from your local Dollar Tree. So if you guys are interested in that, be sure to like this video and don't forget to subscribe if you're new. Now don't be afraid to freehand this. This is supposed to be kind of a messy slime face, so nothing really has to be perfect. I would say maybe just look at a reference photo of Venom and Carnage just to kind of get the placement of how everything's supposed to be laid out as far as the mouth and the eyes go. But other than that, guys, just have fun when you're doing this. While looking at a reference photo, I noticed that Carnage has these black lines going through his symbiote suit, so I'm just using some acrylic paint to try to mimic those lines. Again, no real rhyme or reason or pattern on how to do this, you just want to do what looks good to you. And for Venom, I'm just taking some red acrylic paint to bring out the details in his mouth. If you notice in the comic book as well in the cartoon, Venom kind of has a bluish gray tint to his symbiote, so I'm just dry brushing those colors on with some acrylic paint to try to mimic that look. I have to say, painting on those faces as well as those other details really brought these characters to life. Now it's time to make our light up containment unit. You're gonna need one of these push lights. I actually got mine from the Dollar Tree, as well as some of these gems. I actually got these from Hobby Lobby on an after Christmas sale, but I think you can also find these at the Dollar Tree. I started by adding a very small dot of hot glue to the side of the push light to hold in place these medium-sized gems. Just to make sure they were all symmetrical, I lined each gem up with the opposite side. Now all we have to do is put the finishing touches on this base. First thing I did was cover the light with this painter's tape, then covered the entire base in black spray paint. Once it was dry, it was ready for us to paint on the details. I used this silver metallic paint to dry brush on the look of metal. Any areas that had too much paint, I would use a dry paper towel to remove it. Just keep repeating this process until you get the look you're going for. And to finish this off, all you're going to need to do is attach your ornament to the base with some hot glue. Now you have your own symbiote containment unit. Now for the true test. Will this containment unit be strong enough to hold Venom? Looks like we got him. So far, so good. And for the Carnage blood tube, we're gonna wrap the symbiote around this container to stand guard. Feel free to display these props how you want. Remember, they can be interchangeable. If I were you, I would make 2 containment units because you never know when Venom and Carnage will get out of hand. If you want to see me create more props like this and paint some of your favorite superheroes on glass, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. I'm heading off to the next video, guys. This one's all wrapped up. Until then, stay safe, and I'll catch you on the next one.